Hello, xin chào tất cả các bạn. Chúng ta sẽ đến với lượt trận đấu tiếp theo giữa giải lượt trận đấu VO3 của Bình hiện tại. Ngày hôm nay chúng ta sẽ có 2 lượt trận đấu. Chào mừng quý vị và các bạn đã quay trở lại với kênh nhé. Ngày hôm nay chúng ta sẽ có một lượt trận đấu giữa BO3 là X và S. Xin chào mừng ba bạn đang xem. Chúng ta có thể là đoán cái lượt tỷ số này trên cái hệ thống thống kê thì bên đội tuyển giữa ES thì họ đang có cái vị trí xếp hạng từ là xếp hạng thứ 6. Với EX họ đang có lượt xếp hạng là thứ 6, còn đối với ES thì họ chỉ có xếp hạng thứ 9 mà thôi. Nếu như dự đoán cái phần trăm tỷ lệ thắng thì mình sẽ nghĩ là ES họ sẽ có chiến thắng nó tốt hơn với 100% tỷ lệ thắng ở trong mùa giải lần này.
The future of roofing. How can this little box be it?
Well, as many IoT thinks, it's not the physical chip or card that looks spectacular, but what it can do. This is what you put into your roof, allowing you to check the health of your construction while scrolling your phone. It calculates the absolute humidity of the outside air and the constructions, then sends this info to a roof fan.
This box gives you automatic ventilation on demand. How about that?
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the Elisa channel. 1 BO3 down, one more to go today, Harry. We just had that Permitter X Enida game, 3 maps, a 13-11 in the first, a 13-4 and a 13-5. Gives us about a 15-minute break for everyone at home to go and grab their lunch, and we are back here with X-Sync taking on Espionage. A lot of ease. I'm not liking it.
Yeah, quite a few, but nothing wrong at the Elisa Esports Invitational. I think that's going to stretch you by the time we get to that point. But yeah, in terms of this one, we already have the contender stage Swiss beginning to see itself through in the third round. As you can see, Permitter Esports up 2-1. Exonida on the receiving end. That is the first game of today. We now set our sights towards Espionage, X-Sync, as you say. And I'll tell you what, Ryan, I'm looking forward to this game. I think this is a big match for both teams, but for very different reasons.
Yes, agreed. Espionage, I feel like as a team we see every time they play at this point, Harry. X-Sync, it's a privilege for us as we get to watch them the first time, for us two at least. Of course, as you can see, Espionage been playing a lot of CS in the past 3 months. 81 maps in the past 3 months, averaging nearly a map a day, basically, in that statistic. Win rate is looking pretty strong as well. Their Anubis is their best map, 75%, 3/4 of the times they've played it, they've won. As for X-Sync, well, they've fallen a little bit down the ladder. 85th in the world, nearly a third of the maps played that Espionage have. Not to mention, win rate overall not looking too fantastic.
Yeah, you look at both of these teams and the runs that they've been on recently. For X-Sync, it was a 6-game loss streak, which only just ended with a win over the Inglorious team in Elisa, which, of course, we know are playing here because of their run through the Open qualifiers. So not exactly the most formidable of opponents, but it's not about how you get the wins, it's the wins on the board that make all of the difference. For Espionage, their track record as well, a little bit questionable. Of course, in Elisa, they won 2-0 against Yarno, but then that alternate attacks match that you and I covered was culminating with a 13-1 defeat on Vertigo, which had us really worried with it being their own map and pick as well as to how exactly things are going to go on. But we can head now into the head-to-head between these two, and I've gone for the more experienced faces within the server, both Gio and Kabi.
Yeah, Jayo's an individual that has stuck around for a little while. I think his 4-year stint at Amiga is probably the most notable of the lot. He's been around the block when it came to the European region for a little while. If you predate back to pre-Amiga times, he played on K23 in the midst of that, but Pro 100 was a squad that he played on from July to October of 2018 as well. As for Cabby, of course, again, as you mentioned, a bit of an experienced individual in this roster compared to the rest of the team. He's basically played on every Danish Tier 2 team there is to exist. Lyngby Vikings, AGF, Masonic, Ecstatic, and now here on Espionage. He's been around the block in that sense when it comes to the amount of Danish teams he's found himself in. However, his stats here unparalleled to any other, it feels like. He's been playing some very solid Counter-Strike. 0.03 behind star performer of Lucky. And of course, for Jayo's side of things, well, he's the top performer for XSync by quite some margin. The only player to have a positive rating in the last 3 months, a 1.14. The next player behind him is Eku on 0.99, Fates on a 0.98. So for me, Jayo is the only man to watch in terms of statistics for Sync, at least from reading from the sheet. For Cabby's sake, though, he has got some backup as well. Unfair to include Lucky in the picture, of course, as the rifle role needs to be filled on both sides. But yeah, I'm excited to see this head-to-head in particular because, as you say, you've got two talented individuals with a lot of experience on their shoulders as well.
Yeah, I think it's nice that we get this parallel here for two players which are either, halfway through their career, in their prime. I think Cabby would probably want to say at 25, 26, that's about where you would place that marker. And for Jayo, it's just continuing to be a flagship name in the Estonian scene, which is something that we've not yet mentioned. This XSync roster is a full Estonian roster. There are only a few names which come to mind in Counter-Strike, or one really being Rops playing at a tier 1 level for FaZe as things stand. But in terms of these guys, sure, they're not exactly household, but I think it's nice that we do have that regional representation here as well for the team.
Yeah, I will say as well, Jayo, just as an interesting fact to sprinkle on top of this this whole head-to-head narrative, he's the second highest rated player in the entire event in the Elisa Invitational Spring Contenders, a 1.41 over 5 maps. He has been playing unbelievable CS for his squad. Real quick before we throw up the maps, Harry, I want to have a quick discussion because obviously Espionage plays 7, XSync only playing 6. So when we head into this veto, I'm expecting Vertigo to get banned instantly. I wouldn't be surprised if Espionage throwing an Inferno ban simply because, again, it's like the strongest point for XSync, and the benefit you have by playing 7 maps is you can get rid of one of them, which is your opponent's strongest. So an expected result when it comes to the 2 bans. The pick of Espionage, I mean, to be honest, Anubis or Nuke would spring to mind, and there you have it, right? They've played Nuke the most, and XSync are 0 for 3. Anubis then trying to be punished by XSync, which we'll come back to in a second, Harry, because that to me is screaming a veto error, in my books at least. We can roll through the rest real quick, though, and see what's going on. Ancient, Overpass, and then our decider of Mirage. Anubis, Harry, I mean, a quick glance at the stats will tell you exactly why I think this is the wrong way to go. Because, I mean, sure, they've only played it 4 times.
Chúng ta sẽ đến với lượt cấm chọn map giữa hai đội. Inferno và Vertigo đã được ban ở bên phía phần của bên EX rồi. Và phần pick là map Nook và Anubis. Mirage thì đó là 3 cái map mà chúng ta được thấy là cả hai đội được tin tưởng ở trong cái lần này. Ở trong cái phần pick Nook thì được phía bên ES họ chọn các bạn nhé.
Their top 3 maps, in my opinion, would be swapping Mirage for an Overpass, perhaps. I mean, historically, what we know them to play would be that pool. Anubis, they have actually struggled on it fairly recently, Espionage, but whether that quality, whether that floor has really fallen that much lower for XSync to get the value that they want out of this, I'm not too sure. And heading in on Nuke, it's going to be a fantastic catalyst.
Đối với map đấu đầu tiên thì mình sẽ phân tích cho các bạn một chút là chúng ta nên chọn phần 2 mã đầu tiên chiến thắng, đó chính là ES.
Sure, but now they've ended that losing streak that we saw. You know, they did have a couple of 13-1 losses in there. Things were getting really ropey, but then they go up against fellow strugglers Alliance, and a 2-0 goes a long way for building that up, essentially. You actually look at some of the other defeats, really interesting in there. They lost 13-7 to Johnny Speeds, and no, that was not a 1 versus 5. This is a mix now, which has popped up, a Swedish mix. It's got formerly Sprout Spook. You got Rolf in there, it's come from Godsent. You got Draken, who's just come off the back of that weird Ikla project that ended up finishing, the European Ikla that we saw. But yeah, they took a win. They're feeling a lot more comfortable. Now, it's like, do we see them really come out the other side, or is this just another bump in the road?
Yeah, I think the next key point that you wanted to throw out there is it's strong foundations for both teams. I don't know about you, Harry, but we always see European teams, when they do get tried, they do stumble a little bit. The fact that we've got 2 nationalities being represented by 10 players is always cool. The foundations for Espionage being that this has been a core for it feels like the dawn of time, right? Like in terms of this roster, the core 4 has been together for 9 months under the Espionage banner. As for X-Sync, again, this has been a core for goodness knows how long. I know they've only been X-Sync for 2 weeks now, but you look before that and actually look at that Sync roster as a whole. I'm trying to give you an exact number now, and by the looks of things, it seems to be as if it all came together.
I was just about to say January 2023, right? Yeah. Fates, Watson, Eku have all been there since then, so it's been over a year with that part of the project. And then for Espionage, like you mentioned, it's not just them being under the current name, the 9 months that they've had here, but the Tricks roster, which came before that. And when you look back to there, you had at least the core of Lucky, Iceberg, and Quez since June 2022, and to even take steps a little bit further back, I know Lucky was there in 2021 for a period of time. You know, a few of the names are sort of like dipping in and out off the bench, different rosters. These guys know each other incredibly well. You have a couple of changes, sure, with, you know, new faces coming in, like Mr., for example, with Analele's departure towards the end of last year. But to put it down plain and simple, and to head into this final key point, this is a huge opportunity for X-Sync. I think we need to posture it as such, because Espionage, they're a very strong team. However, the form has been a little bit questionable, and that's the big thing for me. This could be a chance for them to catch them on an off day, yet again, coming in, the fact that they're not under an organization as it stands, that you don't have that security in your future, despite the fact they have been together, you know, for over a year, like we mentioned. It's a question of getting yourself back on the map, really, because I think they are in the position to sort of keep their names around the scene, but you want to kick on from that point, you know? Nothing's a certainty.
Yeah, I mean, like, just as an example, right? If you take this as, like, I know people do take the lower end of the HLTV rankings with a pinch of salt, but you know, you just compare the numbers, right? They're 85 coming against 53. The best time to do it is now, when you were saying Espionage have found a lot of inconsistency. They've started to iron that out in the form of a 2-0 over Espionage, not to mention wins over Yano and Illumina. X-Sync have just cropped up with a win, their first in 7, so hoping that this could be the turnaround point for them. But of course, Harry, we did look at the maps and we said, well, looking at the veto, I don't know about this one. You know, it's a bit tricky, and it does lean the way of the Espionage side. Just to sprinkle on a bit of that lore and one of those stats that come quite niche is, you were talking about those trick days way back when in 2022, back when X-Sync had the core under the org SC. All the way from then till now, Sync and, well, Trick/Espionage have played each other 3 times, 2 BO3s and 1 BO1. Every single time, the series winners have been this X-Sync roster. So, is it a chance to go against that today? Are Espionage going to rewrite the book since 2022? Or is that upset going to happen where X-Sync come out of the gate swinging and keep this rivalry alive and in their name?
Nice to know that there is history in the server here, and as you mentioned earlier, 2 fully nationalized rosters comprising of both Danish and Estonian counterparts. But looking at the form of Espionage as well, to just call it back in for a moment, their highest peak was 38th in the world. Not once, but on 2 different occasions, they met the exact same number, the limits of what this roster could achieve. That was towards the end of 2022 in November, then again in August of 2023. And you look at their trajectory here, it's been on an upwards course. They're only 10 places off about a month ago. So could we be seeing them return into a position of power when they need it most. In the one-on-one match, it's Mr. the first off the mark.
Jayo stuck in the smoke. Oh my god, Mr. hasn't checked back sight. That's where the USP could exploit. And it's 2 kills. In fact, there's 4 in the round already. What's jumping in? Jayo also with a frag, and it is all said and done. A hat trick of frags. And Harry, you know, we had a laugh about this before the game. We were like, how the hell do we pronounce this? I DM'd him on Twitter. He said it said Kaseza, we're going to go with. Maybe an Estonian can help us out in the Twitch chat.
I was a big fan of the Caesar idea. Some, you know, Roman Emperor vibes. Keza, maybe.
I don't know. Anyway, he responded.
Keza lad, how you doing?
All right. Don't feed into the British meme too much. Yeah, but we're gonna go with Kaseza. That's what he said to me on Twitter. So we'll leave it at that. But I tell you what, one name to make an impact. 3 kills on the pistol and espionage without a plant.
And they have not. With it being their map selection, you do not get the side preference. So, with that being said, just wanting to try and maximize what they can get here. Full set of Glocks, not a penny spent for the Danes. Having been to Copenhagen myself, I can see why. It's very expensive. The cost of your existence there and in the server as well, very swift. Jayo wants in on the act. He will join Kaseza on 3-0. There you go, man. Just unarmored opponents, easy pickings, a flawless finish. Now we get to see the full wrath of espionage realized on the gunbuy.
2-0. Great start. Espionage, 5 rifles, of course, after taking an eco in the last. You expect them to invest into this round. Iceberg having a look towards outside. Meanwhile, 4 players dipping in and around the lobby. Mr. running himself on top of the big marshmallow. And a ramp spray from Lucky through the smoke is what starts things off. Fates has to drop the smoke in response. And, well, equally, finding Cabby before his piece of utility plumes.
Unlucky that espionage can't get away with that one for free. Yeah, 4 versus 4 scenario now. Eku makes his ascension up the ladder. It's all for the purpose of sharing utility, of which he will expend a grenade outside to just clear the air on what exactly it is that's going on. Espionage, all the numbers towards lobby right now, but swiftly transitioning towards this ramp play.
Another M4 kill for Eku. Just still Fates playing tough as soon as they throw in. It is quickly dismissed, although I say that, it's a 2v2. Mister's found a double.
I liked how we had Lucky there being that probe to just get the information early. They did read into it a bit heavy in terms of player positions. Smokes will be placed on the site, so the bomb plant can come through. Mr. fights in front of it, loses his life. All the info in this 2 versus 1.
Oh, nicely done, Jayo. Nails Quez to the wall in the 1v2. No kit, but it's fine. We've got the defuse locked in. Plenty of time to get it done. X-Sync 3 for 3. Bomb plant means a little bit of spare cash for espionage in the next round, but it won't come as a force buy, or if it does, it will be with limited utility. Very tricky times, espionage. Their pick of nuke already a difficult one to swallow.